All right, welcome, folks. Mil Spec Ops Mega here. Hey, listen, it's going to be your SITREP. It is 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. And let's see here. It is going to be 8/24/2022. One thing I was going to tell you, don't forget, we do have a sale going right now on the Loesch. If you've been waiting for it, it's flying off the shelves, but there is still a pretty good amount of the Eve and the Proseccos. For those not familiar with the fact that I make body butters, put it that way. So, nonetheless, that sale goes, it's 15% off on the Loesch's until Sunday. I think it goes till Sunday midnight. Again, Prosecco is this one, and Eve. Those are the two that we have a lot of. The Ephraim is running out, and the Hosanna is out. So, anyway, nonetheless, let's jump on over here to the board. And we'll kind of get into what's going on. Now, we've got starting off in Skyglass sitting. We just kind of look at the numbers here. You can see what the biggest amount, in terms of really punching into what we're looking at here. Text 2 is going to be trainers. We got almost 60 of those up. 52 BE40s, which is unusual. I don't ever see that number up that high. Then, of course, we've got our NAs. There's 38. Tankers, 36 KC-135s up right now. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. And then, of course, the C-130s. Trainer-wise, we're probably about 80, which is about 20 less than what we normally get in terms of, the usual day of just a sea of trainers. Something we always see. But you can see currently mill up, we're sitting about 399, so just under 400. Actually, that's 389, so about 20 below the 400 mark. Average about 250, maybe higher than that really now. We probably ought to reevaluate our average. But yeah, very busy sky today. So let's get into it and start breaking it down by component, and then we'll get into the meat of what we're looking at. So from our watch list perspective, you're going to notice we do have a little bird rolling out of Puerto Rico, which is a Homeland Security aircraft. A couple P-8s, not the normal that we usually get. We typically see quite a few of those. There's that Noaa bird. We'll be looking at that one here in a little bit. It's up there running some routes north of Jersey. And then that one, 508RJ, is actually Soros. Imagine that. Here he is. Looks like he's coming inbound. That's one of his two planes that I can track. So nonetheless, he's coming to the U.S., which there you have it. All right. Then we got our E6 that is up. That's actually a TACAMO, take charge, move out. Talking to the nukes, ICBM. And then this one up here off of, I think that's actually a balloon up off of Washington. And then down south of the border, we've got the Intel birds and Homeland Security. Now, keep in mind, we start talking about down south. Remember, 2 weekends ago, we had a huge cartel fire right there at the border. And so that's why. Now, that Yank 03, again, Spybird. That's one of those Army peacocks that has all the array of antennas on it. It's doing a lot of work over Lithuania, probably because of Kaliningrad. We do know that the Russians have put some of their top aircraft in with hypersonic nukes into the region, which is not good. Of course, a B-52 up there flying. That tight circle is not the B-52, by the way. That Spicy 31 is your B-52. Looks like it took off out of Belgium. So it looks like we've got a handful, probably about 8 to 12 B-52s in the region, based on just news-related stuff. That R-135 running routes over the Black Sea. There's our little drone. All right, and that's going to be our watch list. Now, we get into the heavies. You will see a lot of stuff, man. We've been pushing a lot of equipment and people into kind of into Doha, into other areas of the Middle East. So that still continues to be busy. Looks like they rolled out of Cyprus, which is interesting. And then, of course, notice we've got everything covered top north and south in terms of other heavy equipment stuff right now. That's going to be Europe. Let's get over here to the U.S. You can see, again, East Coast centric. We got a couple look like they're bugging long distance up over Canada or right along the border. A couple things going on down in southern Cal. But again, very, very heavy presence of C-130, C-17s off the East Coast, as always. Now, let's get into the refuelers, because this is where it gets a little interesting. Now, we'll start it off over in this general area. Now, that's Iraq. We got air refuelers up. Last time we saw that, there was some activity in Syria that fighters were engaged. And then, of course, let's look here real fast as we look across the U.S. at the current tanker. We've got a bunch, actually. Middle of the U.S., down in Florida, up the East Coast. Actually, you know what? That is not my latest refueler. So let me do this. I just realized I left. That's from Friday. Or sorry, not Friday, but Monday. So let me go back to this. Let me just do a live sort real fast on tankers. And we'll get a real number here and see what this looks like. I totally dropped the ball on that one. So here, that's going to be DC-10s. We've got the KC-135s. Let's get into the B-76200s. And then this is going to basically, let me shrink this down, turn that off. That basically gives us the color trend. And now you can really, this is actually live. I do see a P8 in there. That's not accurate. It just pulled it for some crazy reason. And that E6 is still showing. So a little bit sloppy, but that's okay. We've got it loaded. As you can see, a lot busier than what I just showed from a tanker perspective. Now this is, so we're sitting, actually, let's just do a quick count on air refuelers. We got 767s, 7 of those, 76200, sorry. 767-200. There's 7 of those, 4 DC-10s, and then 36 R135 or KC-135s. So that's a lot. It really is. That's kind of a higher number than we're used to seeing. But look at this. Fighters probably from coast to coast, plus they're servicing other aircraft that need it. Now we go over to Europe. We're in Conus. Let's bounce. We got look like air refueler off the Florida coast there, which is interesting. And then we got these. Now these I do find interesting. We're not showing the traces on them for some reason, but give you just a general idea. There's some trace right there. You can see this guy running routes right over Poland. That's right on that Ukraine-Belarus border, and that right there will keep. Let's see if that pulls in, and then let's lock onto this one too. This is a Rook 2023, and again that's over Constanta general area. So it looks like we still have fighter support up there. All right, so we went through the heavies. We talked about the refuelers. We talked about the watch list. Last thing I do want to show you here before we get too far into it, the Zulu 82. You guys may remember that one crashed. This was actually the last flight or the last time frame before that bad dude fell out of the sky. As you can see, the routes it was taking, and evidently just decided to end abruptly. But there you go. That's kind of just a little data point for you. They still don't know what really caused the crash, so we're still investigating. But that looks like that's where it went down. So there's probably a cleanup crew doing some work out there in that little mountainous range. All right, let's go back over here to our main screen. And let's start getting into everything. Let's break it down. So starting off, this is going to be our Forte 10, currently out over the Black Sea. Now, remember, we just looked at, we have an R135, a British R135 that's actually doing routes over the same, very similar area, just a different altitude. Those not familiar with this is that Q4 drone. It's actually manufactured by Northrop Grumman. It's a Global Hawk. And if you aren't familiar with that, I'll just show you a quick picture. That's what we're looking at. It's an unmanned drone flying around. It has insane capabilities. Probably doing LiDAR, looking down into the water and what's below the surface there, if I had to guess. And then let's do this. I'm going to back up. Let me get into this. I'm going to back up, look at the volcanic activity. It looks like it has slowed down. We were up to 10 the other day from an ash alert perspective. And you'll see that Krakatoa and Semeru are still firing. We got this one in Guatemala, and then these down in South America. But a lot lighter than it was for sure. So we'll see another spike probably on the next solar flare or CME that we get. All right. Okay, let's talk weather for a minute. Now I'm going to show you, this is Write It From Zero Hedge, says the drought conditions now affecting 2/3 of the U.S. Interesting thing is right here, the headline is actually about somebody turned up a body at Lake Mead. That's when you start to know things are really, really drying out, when you start finding all the hidden bodies in the middle of lakes that used to be there. Now, this one, they're saying they think they died around 40 or 50 years ago, and they tie it to basically some mob crime in Vegas. But nonetheless, we are in a very extreme drought mode, even though we just got crazy rain here in Texas. Now, let's look at the weather modification flights. This is going to be last 30 days weather mods, just to show you as we get a little closer. Let me dial this thing in, and right over my head you can see some stuff taking off out of Florida. We've got routes. Texas is lit up. Imagine that. All right, last month we've had extreme drought, and now we've got stupid crazy weather conditions where it's just raining cats and dogs for days on end. So as you can see, though, we get up Sacramento area, we get up here into Eugene, Oregon, where they took off up in that general state too. But anyway, just a data point, like I said. And then we did catch actually this one when we were looking at my list. This is in Australia, which is crazy. It looks like they've got a little weather modification stuff going there as well. Now, these are just strictly companies that are tied to weather mods, just so you know. So there's no fuzz on that one, right? When these guys are up and they're cranking out revenue, they're definitely modifying the weather. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So we had 15 inches of rain in Dallas overnight. That one is actually local weather, and we had the flash flood. Don't know why it just went white on me, but nonetheless, we also have mass evacuations in Arizona as the monsoon comes through, and that looks to be on the watcher site. Of course, the white screen. I don't know why it's doing that, but that's all right. We'll press on. 18 fatalities, 36 missing after a flash flood in China. Now, remember, China just came clean. It was an article we read about a week ago that they were actually cloud seeding and manipulating the weather over there. So it looks like they don't have it all totally dialed in, do they? Lots and lots of crazy stuff going on with the weather. One of the data points that I will point out is that I was watching the Weather Channel yesterday, and one of the comments that the meteorologist said was that we are seeing a lot more from a volume of precip than we have in the past. So that's why we're getting all the flash floods. Something is going on where there's actually an increase in precip versus what we've had in the past. And that's why they say this is all happening. Again, weather modification. Of course, they didn't say weather modification, but it's just something to remember, okay? All right, just kind of circling the wagons. Now, I don't know that we'll ever find a meteorologist that actually admits that they're modifying the weather. Seems like they are pretty tight-lipped about it, but you know they got to be scratching their head if they don't know it, right? So here's another one, too. This one is somebody quoted as saying, "I'm shocked. The U.S. crop tour reveals drought-stricken cornfields." Yeah, this whole area right here, they're saying no corn, actually 0 ears on this, which is pretty crazy. And this guy's saying it's a first for him and his counterparts. As you can see, yeah, very, very low yield. You see this one here, very small piece of corn. If they got anything at all, not good at all. You can see the different, as they talk about the yield, very bad. So, and that's our food, folks. And that's how we feed our cattle, and we use it for ethanol. We use corn for a lot of things. And so the fact that it is not a bumper crop, that they are record levels of reduced crop is not good. Now, here's one. China is actually facing a heat wave, havoc on power, crops, and livestock. Yeah, we just saw that. But at the same time, we look over here and we see that they have basically flooded other areas. So I would imagine they are still trying to get it dialed in terms of the weather, but not good at all. Again, like I said, they are definitely manipulating weather. So, all right, over here to the Noaa flights. We just lost one. We had one up right up here. Seems to have landed since then. But let's see if we can find anything else. We do have this one that's actually scheduled to depart in 3 hours, 3 minutes. Look at the flight pattern and recognize that HARP is right in here. All right, so it's taken out, looks like out of Fairbanks, Alaska, and returning back to Fairbanks, but just notice the strange flight pattern already dialed in. That's going to be a G3. That's that same aircraft we were watching earlier. And we get over here, you can see, here it is, 802NA. It's same one we've been watching. But you're going to notice that the last time we looked, it was doing routes up here in the northern end of Alaska. But it's, remember, HARP is right here where my little mouse hand is. All right, but it looks like this is the latest. So they're really kind of hitting all the areas. That aircraft is the one that we saw, has that pod, electronic pod on the bottom of it. And then it looks like we got one that just took off out of Canada. Dynamic Aviation, that's a third party. Looks like it literally just got airborne and is, you can see running back and forth, doing some routes up there. Guarantee they're manipulating weather with these things. Guaranteed. All right, as the weather gets really wacky. Now let's move on over to ForeFlight and take a look here what we've got. The latest and greatest on the NOTAMs and TFRs. Now notice Finland's have an exercise going on right now in Finland. Notice this up here as well. This has come and gone. I don't know. I think this may be the Ruskies in this general area. We had an R135 run outside of that box last week, and it looks like they are putting this as a caution area, probably due to the amount of Russian ships in the region. And then we back up, you can see again, notice this has changed. This is the Moldova area. If we look on our map, you'll see that the Russians are actually in this area, which I find it interesting that there is just a gap. This is a jump box, so they're going to be doing some parachuting military-wise here in these two areas. This whole thing here is a U.S. kind of a strange grid, but we are right there. Our troops, we've got them in Sofia, down here in Bulgaria, and then up here near Bucharest. We have a lot more, but it looks like the U.S. has pretty much put a lot of NOTAMs into play. And then that Black Sea, when we're looking at the Q4 drone, it's running right along the edge right here. If it goes over that edge, it'll probably get shot at, no doubt about it. And then this, again, big block area from the Ruskies, right? So they've got all of this area locked down, all right? All right, let me back up. We're going to take a quick look at the U.S. and see if we've got anything new. It looks good night. A lot of stuff peppered in here. I don't know what these little boxes are. Let me just pull on that. Okay, baseball stadiums. All right, so these little TFRs looks to be baseball games. So that's new. We haven't seen those before. Man, they're everywhere, aren't they, though? This one in the U.S. is kind of a long-standing one. This is the same area we're seeing the tankers, air refuelers roll out of in the center of the United States by the droves. Lots and lots of them. Still got Flashbang. Looks like he's coming back into town today. He's already traveled, actually. Still got the boxes off the East Coast and then off the West Coast. These have been out here for a little while. This stuff here, I think, is fire related, but let me just double check. Millop, nope, it's Millops. All here, a lot of Millops. Look at this. Out here in this general region, lots and lots of Millops. Nothing, let's see if we've got any indicator up here. That is pretty close to HARP. Pretty close to HARP. I think HARP is just right outside of that general area. Fox 3, low military operating area. And remember, we got one of the NOAA flights, weather flights, actually getting ready to run off in this general area out of Fairbanks. So definitely... looks like they got some jumps scheduled for that general area. But that's really close to HARP. I think HARP is kind of in this general area. All right. Okay. Back it up, see if I've got anything else catches my eye. I think we've got it covered. All right, let's move on over to this side of it. Now, we've been reading a lot about China, the fact that they have been kind of positioning themselves for war. I do want to point out, as we look at the sea of ships, these are unspecified. Most of them are cargo, but just note that they're parked still. This hasn't changed. If anything, it is more than it was. But you can see as you kind of get into the area, these are all cargo ships that are parked. Now, you get down a little further south in the East China Sea, you'll see that they are actually stacking them up in a line. You can see the lines right here. Out of service, parking it just like an aerospace graveyard. Tons and tons. There's tens of thousands of these, by the way, which is very unusual. But that should give all of us enough of a data point to know that our supply is about to be very, very constrained. The fact that these guys aren't moving. Look at that. Unspecified parked ships. That's insane. Like I said, tens of thousands. most of them off the coast of China. All right. So look at that. Easy. All right. Now, again, as we see that, we know Atlas Air is doing a lot of flying back and forth. Notice this is a steady stream of 747-400s. They have the largest 747 fleet in the world. Looks like some 67s in there too, but most of these 747-400s, big cargo birds. So that's Atlas Air. Again, they do move troops, and there could be some troop movement mixed into this. But for the most part, they're flying aircraft over there and picking up stuff and bringing it back because the ships aren't moving. So the only way they can get things in is to pay high dollar air freight fees and bring it in that way. So definitely doesn't help you with inflation. So, all right, over here to Flashbang Schedule. Let's see what we got going on. Looks like he left at 10 a.m. And back to the warehouse, the White House. Sorry, got warehouse on the brain today. Looks like he landed about 11 a.m. Eastern time. So he's back at the White House now doing something. I think he's going to speak at the Democratic National Convention or something today. But nonetheless, he is back. And he, I believe, goes back on vacation as soon as he does that. So he goes right back. Okay, speaking of flashbang and policy, U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve falls to a 35-year low. Yeah, it just keeps dropping, as you can see. Every time we measure it, it just keeps going lower and lower because we're not replenishing it. So that's a bad situation to be in. Again, historically low for where we need to be. All right. And then this one, smoking gun, as Flashbang is called. He actually called in FBI to look at first haul of classified Trump documents. So looks like Flashbang's in on it, folks. Anything else surprise us? I mean, this is thug politics as they do well. I mean, that's the Biden crime family, right? All right, Reuters over here. Again, this is every time I have a SITREP, we seem to have more money going out. Every couple of days, we're just earmarking more money. You know this is going into their foundations. But nonetheless, Biden marks Ukraine Independence Day with a $3 billion package. We just continue to pump money into this. This it should not be allowed. Somebody smack the checkbook out of this guy's hand. This is not good. Fighting a proxy war. That will come home to roost. As I mentioned before, nothing indicates anything is going backwards in terms of stand down. It looks like everything is actually in the ramp up mode. And then again, here we've got another indicator. U.S. alerts all Americans still in Ukraine to leave immediately. I guess they've got, or they were running some intel and figured out that the Russians are about to go super hot in Ukraine. I think they're going to take Kiev based on what we're watching. But as you can see, it's still partying in the streets over there. Kind of a crazy war, isn't it? Nonetheless, they're telling Americans to leave the country immediately. That's because they already know Russia's about to turn it up, kick it up a notch. So speaking of that, let's take a look. This is what's going on with the live map news in the Ukraine. Notice you're starting to see these pop up more. These are surface-to-air missiles taking out things like drones or ground units or artillery out over here in this general area where they're located. These are new strikes, artillery strikes. The red, new stuff that Russia has been doing, again, all tied to news articles. These right here are alerts that are basically telling people to take cover in the Ukraine. Notice they are coast to coast right now. I say coast to coast. Border to border. Here we go. So nonetheless, very, very active. You can see those are strikes coming inbound. I imagine Kiev will be the next to go. Again, as we continue to watch it, but that's what's going on over there. All right, let's get on over to the troop movement, see if we've got anything new going on. Biggs Army Airfield looks to be very quiet for the first time. I have not seen any flights coming and going relative to charters moving troops. So nothing on the docket today for Biggs. Let's get over here to Ramstein. As you can see, we do have stuff. We've got an MD-11. That's a camber flight coming in from Dover. Another camber flight coming in from Fort Worth Alliance that probably originated in Biggs, if I had to guess. And then all of these right here are really That one is interesting because that is a Phoenix Air. Remember, that's an agency bird showing up in Ramstein. All right. Not where you typically expect to see those guys. So pay attention to that one. Then we look at the camera flights outbound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like we got 5 flights headed out to everywhere from Washington, Baltimore to Doha, up here to a place I'm not even going to try to pronounce, or another one here, but these are all camera flights. And then notice the FedEx birds, MD-11s coming in from Dover, right? Supply stuff. And it looks like that one is turning back to home base, which is Memphis for FedEx. All right. It's going to be your Omni Airs. Again, more than likely troops. However, this one headed down out of South America is a little interesting. Headed back to Valley. So did they just take a bunch of people back here? Or did they pick them up and bring them to Valley, right to our border? I don't know. Don't know the answer. But the fact that the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol has not responded to my request or my inquiry yet tells you probably everything you need to know. This one here is coming out of Alaska into Seattle. That's probably a return flight coming back. And then we get over here to, this is actually the camera flights. You can see we've got them rolling out of Sofia, which is down here in Bulgaria. 33rd Air Base. I don't know where that is. I'm really going to find out here in a second. We're going to click on that. I think it's here. Then we've got 2 rolling out of Ramstein. Looks to be, look at that. So there's the 4. I am going to click on this because I don't know where 33rd Air Base is located. Oh, now we do. It's Powids, Poland. So that looks to be where they are located. Let me back that up just a tad. All right. That's pretty close to where the F-22s were. So we'll watch it. It's definitely noted. That's going to be their location. So, all right. Let's move on over to the UK aircraft. Again, this one right here, that's going to be an R-135 running routes right on top of, actually below, just below the Q4 drone. So this is a British R-135 looking at stuff here all the way up into here. Again, remember, this is that aircraft that can track the object or an object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. So very, very potent recon bird. And then, of course, you got that Q4 drone flying right above it. Looks like it's about 20,000 foot higher than this guy running back and forth. Same zone. And they're going to push right up against that no-fly area. Remember, that bubble comes down kind of right where that aircraft is. So they are right up on the edge of it. All right. The Ruski's got nothing in the air. Looks to be empty again. That's day 2, actually. We were looking at it. Nothing on Monday, nothing today. Pretty unusual. And then the Swift flights. Notice we've got them going interior-wise. This one's coming out of Phoenix. Looks to be headed. Where are you headed? It's a good question. Let's figure this one out. Minneapolis, or I say that, Minneapolis. I always add an extra N in there. Don't know why I do that. So, yeah. All right. So who are they taking from Phoenix up to Minneapolis? Very interesting, to say the least. Go back to these others. Notice they are interior. A lot of them are interior, although you do have a lot coming down here. I have a very bad feeling, gut feeling, that the reason they're not responding is because they are bringing folks into our country and not taking them back. It just seems like what our administration would do. Given the situation we're in right now from a country perspective, definitely wouldn't be surprised. So, all right, this is going to be your Homeland Security Secretary. It's C-101. Now, this is the one they originally flew, then it went to C-202. C-202 looks to be in a maintenance cycle in Greenville, South Carolina. So this one is flying around, but I'm just going to point out the fact that this is down here in Houma, Louisiana, and then over into San Antonio. So right now, we've got them down in southern Texas, which is going to be, like I said, Secretary of Homeland Security. And then this is going to be World Airlines. These guys, World Atlantic Airlines, look like they just flew somebody down. Look, notice the location, Central America up to McAllen. Did Did they bring people out? Is this still a Bureau of Prison flight? Is it a custom Border Patrol flight now? No telling. But again, we've seen this one actually go out of Miami up to New York as well. So they seem to be moving immigrants rapidly through the United States. Okay, that is going to do us again for today from a Wednesday perspective. I'm not seeing any indications that things are slowing down or standing down. It looks like we've got a very aggressive war footing taking shape. It looks like Russia is about to go to the next phase or go hot in Ukraine deeper in. So we'll continue to watch that. The fact that the U.S. is telling Americans, if you're still there, to get out, that kind of is a pretty good indicator. And then, of course, we got all of the supply chain stuff going on in Asia, which is really, really interesting. Again, another indicator that we've got some more pain coming from a supply chain. And it's not just the U.S., it's going to be around the world, because if those ships are sitting, they're not going anywhere. So a little VIP here. I did want to point out, this is actually in Kauai. This is VIPs, both of these. So it looks like Bob Marley's headed out to get some Kona gold, if you know what I'm talking about. I can't even say that with a straight face. But yeah, Bob Marley's headed to Hawaii. I'm surprised he's not going to Jamaica. The other thing, too, just pointing out, looks like all of our TFRs, we still have this little one here, looks to be an air show. Everything else is back here inside of the Brown Zone Senior Living Center. Two things I did want to point out, though, because these are probably going to become hurricanes. This is a watch area. This is the storm, another watch area, and the storm coming offbound. This is where they think it'll actually, strengthen in these two zones. And then, of course, if this one gets in here to the Gulf of Mexico, going to be really warm water, and we could end up with our first major hurricane of the season. So, all right, that's going to do it. Again, just keep that powder dry and stay frosty. As always, let's go, Brandon. And for those in the chat, I'll see you guys over in the Q&A here in just a minute. That's it. Be safe. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeywerxus.com.